Hi everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and in today's video, I want to rank the top 10 legendaries in the game, in my opinion, that you can pull from Sacred Shards. Right, we've got a 2x chance event coming up for Sacred Shards this weekend, so I think it's a great time to dive in and just think about what are the best possible things that you could pull from those shards. So without any further ado, let us dive into the video. In 10th place, and this is actually really hard. The bottom few places on this list were really difficult because either way, you have to leave some really good champions out. So if you guys have any honorable mentions that I have left out, or if you would kick someone off this list to put someone else in, do let me know. But in 10th place, I'm actually going to go in, I'm going to put Calvalax in 10th place. And this was a bit contentious for me. I was thinking, should I give this to Xavia instead, or maybe Tomb Lord instead? I decided Calvalax, though, in the end, deserves to be here. The reason is really his passive is incredible. Puts 4 poison debuffs on all enemies for 2 turns at the start of each round. He also puts out more at the start of every turn he has as well. He does extra stuff too, and he has some other great abilities like a really hard-hitting A2. His A3 is a hard-hitting AoE. He does other nice stuff, but it's really the passive that makes him amazing in my opinion. This opens up the Poison Exploder comp, and in fact makes it pretty much the best speed clear comp in the game, right? If we jump across, let me show you Dragon 25. Let me show you. If you don't believe me, wait till you see this. And this works for Doom Tower waves. This works for obviously potion dungeons, works for Ice Golem, works for Dragon, works for most places in the game where you're clearing through waves. This is basically the best way to do it. For the most part, is going in with our boy Calvalax. Look at this team. 2 Calvalax and Xavia to explode, and then 2 Septimus to nuke the boss. Here we've got 2 Calvalax, a Xavia to explode, Elenarl to explode the second wave, and then Vizier to just extend those poisons against the boss. 2 Calvalax, 2 Calvalax. My goodness, this man has 3 Calvalax. What is going on? We've got a couple of teams here that don't have Calvalax, that they're coming in lower in the list, but I just think that, hey, you know what? You kind of want multiple Calvalax to be fair, and you do need to combo him with a Poison Exploder, but you do that, and you unlock the best speed clears in the game. You unlock those. So that, for me, means that he does deserve to be on the list, but I think he does need to be on the bottom of the list because he does need Xavia or Elenarl, as it is right now with the game, to actually unlock his full potential. And you even kind of want 2 Calvalax to really unlock his full potential. So there's a lot of investment there, but it's so cool when you do get it, and I think that makes it worthwhile. In 9th place, then, is a champion that used to be considered almost maybe the best legendary when I first started playing. I feel like she's fallen off a lot, but she's still really good, and that's Valkyrie. So Valkyrie is probably the best counterattack. In fact, because I'm putting her on this list and not Martyr, she is the best counterattack champion in the game, in my opinion. So she's this AoE attack that hits really hard, defense-based damage, puts a shield on all allies for 3 turns, and this is a massive shield. This is probably the biggest shield in the game in most content. It also gives them counterattack for 2 turns. So this is an absolutely fantastic ability. It is incredible, amazing against the Demon Lord, amazing really in any sort of progression content in the game. Then her passive fills her turn meter whenever an enemy champion puts a buff. Enemy champions have their turn meter decreased for every buff they receive. This makes her very viable for some PvP action. And then her A1 can also decrease turn meter. So again, you can use this, especially even when you combo with, I can't remember the name, the Mastery, that decreases turn meter on your A1 as well. And she can sort of target certain champions down and reduce their turn meter. Like, you could potentially use her in PvP with just these 2 moves and forget about the counterattack in some certain fights, which is kind of crazy. So she's very versatile. She does a lot of stuff really well. Yeah, she's even good against some Hydra rotations, so long as you can ensure their buffs aren't stolen, but that's difficult to do. And yeah, I don't know. I do feel like she sort of falls off in terms of speed farming and maybe a bit in Hydra, maybe not as good in PvP as she was anymore. What do you guys think? Do you think Valkyrie should be up higher on the list? I don't know. I feel like she still deserves to be on it for sure, but I don't think she deserves to be near the top anymore. Not quite. In 8th place, we have Rotos. Rotos, the Lost Groom, who I pulled on my Sacred for earlier in the week. This guy's an absolute beast in Arena. I think he is probably the best Arena nuker in the game. So good for that. Absolutely so good. His A3 attacks one enemy, ignores 60% defense, ignores unkillable, ignores block damage. He can stack up his max HP with Vitality Plunder. He can block revive, but that's very awkward to make happen. But this does proc a lot. Extra turn if he kills an enemy. This hits so hard. and he can just start mowing down your team one by one. His A1 can put decreased defense and also has a 25% chance of an extra turn, so even more extra turns in there. Let's talk about his A2 next, which decreases target's max HP and then adds that HP to himself, which makes him just even tankier. But it's this passive that's even more crazy for Arena. Decreases the damage from enemy hits. Incoming damage cannot exceed 50% of his max HP in a single hit. So any of those nukers in Arena that want to just one-shot your team with a single hit cannot kill Rotos. They just can't hit through it. He just stops at 50% HP and says, thank you very much. I'll take an extra turn, which is insane. So good. Absolute beast in Arena. Now, one thing is, he does kind of need to go at Sifi to unlock his full potential. So that does bring him a bit further down the list, right? If you don't have Sifi, he's not quite as good. He's still good, but not quite as good. And I also feel like he's maybe not as useful in other areas of the game. Like, he can be good for some Doom Tower bosses, but he's really mostly just for Arena. And tell you what, having this guy for Arena, you're going to be very happy. But he's not going to help you too much in other areas of the game. So yeah, that's Rotos, but I think he's absolutely incredible. He's one of my most wanted personally. Next up then, we're staying in Undead Hordes. I'm actually going to put Mashald up next. I was tempted to put him a bit higher. It's kind of hard to say because he's really had this value surge again with the Hydra coming out, where Mashald is excellent. So Mashald comes in, and he has, actually his main move really I'd say is Tornado. Increase speed, increase crit damage in your entire team, then a True Fear and a Leech on all enemies for 2 turns, and then it gives him an extra turn. This is an insane move. This is so good in the Arena for crowd controlling the enemy team with True Fear. In Clan Boss and Demon Lord for giving you extra speed. The extra speed as well, and the Leech really helpful against Hydra. Just an amazing move. His A3, massive single target hit that can steal all buffs from the target before attacking, puts heal reduction, 2 continuous heal buffs on him, and also does even more damage if he successfully steals those buffs. So absolutely incredible ability. Then his A1 attacks one champion, heals him by 30% of the damage inflicted, and then repeats that single target attack against everyone that has Leech out. This absolutely claps that Hydra because it doesn't count as an AoE attack, which would get damage reduction from the Hydra's passive. This counts as single target attack. So yeah, he's amazing for Hydra. He also has attack in dungeons aura, which is okay. But yeah, he's a great Arena champion, great for Hydra, really good for Doom Tower, just amazing. I don't know. Now I'm talking about him. I think I probably should have put him one spot higher in the list. So let's retroactively do that. Let's actually say that he is supposed to be what? He's supposed to be number 6. So let's go backwards. I've talked myself into it. Number 7 then. Actually, I should have rated this guy lower than Mashald, but Ninja, I think really deserves to be on this best list. And I feel bad for anyone that wasn't playing when this guy was your login reward, because he is amazing. He is so good. This guy is like the boss killer, guys. It's Escalation, his passive, that does a big chunk of the work. Stacks his attack up to 100% bonus attack, up to 25% bonus crit damage. It stacks faster when he's fighting bosses. This helps him rip through the clan boss, both of them, Demon Lord and Hydra. He just does massive direct damage with his hits against those bosses. And then it's his A2 that's really a standout move. 3 hits at random, each hit puts HP burn, and against bosses instantly activates those HP burns, including HP burns placed by this skill. This just rips through bosses. It does so much damage. It absolutely destroys them, and it's on a really short 3-turn cooldown as well, and he can even reduce that cooldown as well, decrease the cooldown by 1 turn when he uses Scion Slash against bosses. This is a big hit against bosses, ignores 50% defense. And then when he's just against waves of enemies, it's an AoE smack that puts a freeze, which is fantastic. His A1 then gives him turn meter against bosses, and it can also place decreased defense. So yeah, he is like the boss slayer, right? He absolutely melts through those bosses. So good for so many Doom Tower bosses. So good for Hydra. So good for Clan Boss. I use him in my Bat Eater and Clan Boss. He's like pretty much the best damage dealer for Bat Eater. At least he easily competes with Dracomorph, Gintoro, any of those. Yeah, monster for Hydra, monster for Doom Tower. Just, if you need to kill bosses, there's few damage dealers that can do better than Ninja. And I think that versatility with having the AoE attacks as well against waves, he's just fantastic. So I do put him, by the way, at number 7. I do think Mashald is probably a little bit better overall. Then up in 5th place, jumping up into 5th place, these are the top 5. And this is where stuff really starts to escalate here. So in 5th place, I'm going to put Lady Kimmy. I think Lady Kimmy is absolutely incredible. I think she's even kind of underrated. Yeah, I think people probably do underrate her. She is probably the best sort of speed manipulator and accuracy manipulator in the game. I think she's a big step up from Lissandra in most content, to be honest with you. So her A3 Spirit Flux removes a random buff from the enemy, and then if they have a buff removed, it puts block debuffs on anyone that she removed the buff from, right? So, sorry, block buffs. So she can put block buffs on enemies if she strips a buff off. Amazing for Hydra, amazing for Doom Tower, amazing for Arena. So good. Then it also fills turn meter of allies by 15%, gives them increased accuracy and increased speed. Two of the best buffs in the game, so useful. Then her A2, AoE attack, that puts decreased accuracy, decreased speed, and decreases their turn meters by 15% in an AoE. This is insane for Arena. Keeps your team so safe. Yeah, it's just, this is insane. Her A1 then attacks the enemy at the highest turn meter, attacks them twice if they also have the highest turn meter, and the second hit will also decrease their turn meter by 15%. Right, so she's going to be doing actually pretty good damage. She does decent damage overall, even more turn meter manipulation on her A1. And then her passive is also great. Whenever she debuffs an enemy, also decreases their turn meter by 5% for each debuff. Whenever her or an ally gets a debuff, fills their turn meter. And then 30% speed aura in Doom Tower battles, by far the best Doom Tower speed aura. Yeah, Lady Kimmy is amazing. Look at those base stats, just insane. She is going to absolutely help you smash through those Doom Tower waves, decreasing their speed and accuracy, upping your speed and accuracy, buff stripping them, putting block buffs, decreasing their turn meter even more, giving you speed aura, like god tier for clearing through Doom Tower for most players. Like unless you got a super end game like farm team with a seer comp end game built out, like Kimmy's just so good for Arena, insane for Arena. Insane for Hydra. Yeah, Kimmy is just amazing. I really regret not having enough Ancient Shards when we had the guaranteed summon event for her. I think she is so good. In fourth place then, I am going to give it to Trenda Guilt Mallet. Trenda is, she's not necessarily super useful in every area of the game, but she does one thing, and she does one thing well, which is the easiest AoE smack in the game. And in fact, she's got two AoEs. She's got an AoE in her A3 and an AoE on her A2. So she's got two AoE abilities. They absolutely hit so hard. One of the hardest hittest champions in the game. As you guys know from the Thea videos I did recently, like Thea and Ruel do hit harder, but they need Hex to actually do their damage. So that's a bit harder to set up. That can be difficult to fit into team comps. The nice thing, the amazing thing about Trenda, which earns her number 4 spot, is she doesn't need anything. She just goes in and she just smacks everyone. She just smacks everyone, and with 2 AoEs. She also has an attack in all battles for magic allies, which is actually pretty good too. Really insane base stats as well, like 80 base resistance. Like what? It's crazy. 22,000 base HP. She's got more HP than most HP based champions. She's just your ultimate damage dealer. She destroys lower difficulties of Hydra right now. Maybe we can eventually make her work against higher difficulties. I don't know. But definitely against the lower ones, she's a monster. She's a monster against a lot of Doom Tower content as well, where just her raw damage just overpowers those waves. She's, again, the easiest nuker to use in Arena, because with only 4 slots for your team in Arena, you can bring in Hexers, but that's more intensive in terms of team comp. Trenda doesn't need anything. You just point her in the direction of the enemy team, and she blows them up. So yeah, number 4, just the biggest smacking AoE damage dealer in the entire game. That is Trenda. In third place, then, we're staying in Dwarves, and it's actually this guy, Brogni. Oh my god, Underpriest Brogni, he is such a monster. He is so good. He is so good. He changed when I got him through the fusion. He really changed my account. He came into so many teams, opened up so many options. This guy is nuts. So what does Brogni do? Number 1, he has block debuffs with a huge shield and increased attack as well on a 3-turn cooldown. This is so useful. It gives you so much protection to your team. The shield buff cannot be removed. It's just an amazing ability. Block debuffs for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown is a very, very rare ability. Very rare and extremely potent. It's one of the best things to keep your team alive. On top of that, whenever an ally under a shield buff is attacked, it reflects 25% of the damage back at the attacker, heals the ally by 25% of the damage inflicted on the shield, so he's doing a nice bit of healing too. But this damage reflection can proc masteries, so it can proc the Giant Slayer mastery, and it actually means that Brogni by keeping your team alive, actually does insane damage to things like the Demon Lord, to things like the Hydra, to Doom Tower bosses. He actually does a lot of damage by reflecting mastery procs with this redoubt passive. It's really, really good. Then his 8-2 is also unique. So it's an AoE attack. It can actually hit very, very hard as well, and it can remove a random buff from enemies and a random debuff from allies. It's actually pretty useful, but then it also increases the value of shield buffs by 30% of the damage inflicted. No one else in the game can do this, and if you build his attack up high and his crit rate and crit damage up high, this can absolutely massively increase your shields. And there's been some really cool compositions for Demon Lord where they utilize this effect, right? Where they just grow their shields to be absolutely enormous, because the Demon Lord simply can't do enough damage to bust through them, and you end up with these huge shields, and your fight can go on for ages. This A1 then even has a nice bonus of placing HP burn as well, which is a really useful thing to have. Nice 60 resistance in all Doom Tower battles. But yeah, Brogni's insane. He's actually solid for PvP, does a good job, especially you can use him in place of Duchess, and it works reasonably well on offense, particularly, I think, where you don't need the revive as much. He's amazing against so many Doom Tower fights, so good against Doom Tower, so good against Clan Boss, both Hydra and Demon Lord. He is amazing. So yeah, Brogni for me, he's got to be number 3. Great base stats as well. And what a champion. So good. Then for the final 2, will it surprise you if they're both in the same faction? In second place, Prince Kymar. I was lucky enough to pull Kymar recently, and he's completely changed my account. Kymar is insane. So first of all, Seal of Magic, 6-turn cooldown that fully resets the cooldown of all ally skills and fills the turn meter of everyone except him by 20%. This is so good for your speed clear teams, right? For speed clearing through Doom Tower waves, through dungeon waves, getting that full reset on everyone. Doesn't matter how long their cooldowns are, he will reset them, and you can just nuke through waves. You know, most of the top speed teams are the number 1 champion on this list, with a Lydia and a Seer, and then 2 Kymars to reset them. He even goes into Poison Explosion comps, so he can work there as well, resetting cooldowns too. He can do so much of this, it's so good. Then his A2, Abyssal Gaze, is a god tier move for Arena. AoE attack that completely buff strips the enemy team and puts them to sleep, right? So it lets them sleep through their reaction accessories, lets reaction accessories just fade away, strips off all their buffs. Just an incredible move, so useful for Arena, absolutely insane. Brings a 30% Arena speed aura as well, so you can basically open up speed teams that don't rely on Arbiter, which is a pretty huge deal, right? You can put him in with other champions, and it can be insanely good. His A1 isn't that good, you know, AoE attack that can put poison. It's okay, but yeah, you can even build multiple Kymars, right? You can have one with high crit rate that will use this, and use that for your PvE, for your dungeon speed clears. That can work. Then you can have one in immunity gear, potentially, to take on things like Hegemon. You can have one in just like super fast, super high accuracy gear to strip teams effectively and put them to sleep. You can do all sorts of things with this guy. He's absolutely insane. And yeah, when you get one, if you're lucky enough to get one, he'll completely change your account, because it opens up so many more options with these abilities. In Arena, in Dungeons, in Doom Tower. You can even use them in Hydra a bit for buff stripping and for resetting skills. You know, like, there's so much he can do. He is insane. And then the best legendary from Sacreds in the game, and possibly even the best legendary in general. I mean, Yumiko is up there. The new Void legendary is up there. But I would even argue that Duchess might even be not only the best, but the best. It's kind of crazy. I would say that, you know, this has been top champions from Sacreds. I'd say maybe the top 3, you know, like Brogni and Kymar are as good as, or maybe even slightly better than most Void legendaries. And then Duchess is on just another level. Duchess is insane. The best legendary in the game, in my opinion. She is pretty much the best champion for Hydra. She's the best champion for pretty much all the Doom Tower bosses, most of them. She's the best champion on defense in Arena. She's just the best. She is the best. She has this insane passive, decreases damage from AoE attacks for allies by 25%, 15% chance against bosses. She has an AoE revive at 70% HP that puts Veil on all those allies and continuous heal on everyone for 2 turns. She has an AoE block buffs with increased attack and perfect Veil. Her A1, double hitter that puts shields on her and the ally with the lowest HP. Then she even has a little speed aura, which isn't too bad, you know, just a little cherry on top. But she has amazing base stats, and she's so easy to build as well, right? She doesn't need to be super quick. But, build her with moderately good speed, and then just crank her health up, crank her resistance up. She doesn't need accuracy, doesn't need crit rate or crit damage, doesn't need attack. It needs a little bit of defense, but you don't need to go too crazy on that either. Just so easy to build, and just becomes, the best champion in basically all the hardest areas of the game. She's going to be just the best champion that opens up team comps that otherwise there's just no way that you can make them work. So she's insane. She is absolutely insane. I think she's number 1. And there you go, guys. Those are the top 10 legendaries from Sacred Shards in the game, in my opinion at least. Let me know what you think. Were there any that I left out that you would have put in there? Would you have changed the order? I know it's going to be contentious for sure. There's so many great legendaries. And there's even some of these new ones coming in that maybe will shake things up. I don't know, maybe this Beauregard guy, maybe this increased resistance buff, he's going to be boosting the 10 times this weekend, maybe he's going to break into that top 10 if that buff is going to change some teams up. Who knows? But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.